If you've ever opened up Excel and just felt that wave of overwhelm, you are definitely not alone. I mean, it's a wall of buttons, an ocean of formulas. It's so easy to feel lost. Today, we're going to talk about a really powerful, kind of counterintuitive strategy that completely flips the script and puts you on the fast track to real expertise. So first up, let's break down something I call the Excel overwhelm trap. If you've ever struggled to learn Excel, it's probably the exact reason why. It's why the most common ways people try to learn are just set up to fail from the start.
So, does this sound familiar? You pop open a spreadsheet and you're just hit with a sea of functions, charts, and tables. You click around a bit, maybe you watch a couple of random tutorials, but nothing really truly sticks. That feeling, well, that's the first step right into the trap.
And here's the thing, the single biggest mistake most of us make is trying to learn it all at the same time. You think, okay, I've got to know VLOOKUP, and pivot tables, and charts, oh, and macros too. But that approach, it doesn't lead to mastery. It just leads to burnout, and you end up with a shallow knowledge of a lot of things, but you're not really an expert in any of them. So what's the alternative to just getting completely burnt out? Well, it's a powerful idea. Focus on just one topic. This is a huge shift, right? We're moving away from learning a little about everything, and instead we're going deep on one single thing for incredibly fast results. So the single topic strategy, it's simple, but it is so powerful. You pick one and only one area of Excel, and you just master it completely. You don't even think about the next topic until you are an absolute expert in the first one. It is all about focus. Okay, so this means you actually have to choose a specialty. You don't need to know all of these, just the one that really matters for your job. You know? If you do a ton of reporting, then pivot tables. That's your world. If your work is all about calculations, you go deep on formulas. Need to tell stories with your data? Then data visualization is for you. The real key here is to choose one and just own it. All right, so you've picked your topic. Fantastic. But how do you actually master it? Well, here's a 5-step plan that gives you a super clear roadmap to get from novice all the way to expert. The path is actually pretty straightforward. There are just 5 steps. First, you select your topic. Second, you learn it in stages. This is important. Third, and this one is non-negotiable, you practice every single day. Fourth, you actually limit your learning sources. And finally, you test your knowledge. Let's break down a few of the most important ones. Let's talk about step 2, because learning in stages is absolutely critical. You can't just jump into the deep end. You got to start with the absolute basics, like how do I create a simple pivot table? From there, you can move on to the intermediate stuff, like slicers and customizations, and only then do you start applying it all to solve those complex, real-world business problems. And what about practice? I mean, how much is enough? We always think we need hours and hours, right? But get this, you don't. Just 15 to 30 minutes of focused work each day. That's it. It's not about the marathon sessions. It's the daily consistency that builds that real lasting skill. And that brings us to a really crucial and kinda weird-sounding step, limiting your sources. In a world with endless YouTube tutorials and courses, the goal is to avoid information overload. Find one, maybe two, high-quality, trusted resources and just stick to them. This keeps you from getting distracted and jumping between a million different methods. Okay, so you've followed the plan, you've put in the work. What does success actually look like? In this next section, we're going to talk about how you can measure your progress and, more importantly, the incredible payoff that comes with real expertise. So, how do you know when you've really truly made it? Well, here's the real test. You're an expert not just when you can do something complex, but when you can confidently turn around and teach it to somebody else. When you can explain the why behind the how, that's when you know you've mastered it. And you know what the best part is? This doesn't take years to accomplish. With that consistent, daily practice we talked about, you can expect to see huge, noticeable progress in just 6 to 8 weeks. I mean, think about that. In less than 2 months, you could become the go-to person on your team for your chosen topic. So why does all this matter? Let's be real, because the career payoff is huge. You're not just learning a cool feature, you're building serious career capital. You'll become the expert on your team, which makes you way more valuable and puts you in a great position for a promotion. Plus, mastering one of these areas builds the perfect foundation to learn even more powerful tools down the road, like Power BI or SQL. All right,
So we've laid out the problem, we've walked through the strategy, and we've seen the payoff. The only thing left now is for you to make a decision. Your journey to becoming an expert starts with a single, focused choice.
Ultimately, it just comes down to this choice. You can go the old way, trying to learn everything at once, which just leads to frustration and skills you forget in a week. Or you can go the smart way, mastering one topic at a time. And that leads to confidence, rapid expertise, and results you can actually use in the real world. So I'll leave you with this question. Your journey to mastery starts right now with one decision. Think back to those areas we talked about: pivot tables, formulas, visualization. What will you choose to master first?